This is Up. I'm David Gura, and in just 10 days, the top 20 contenders for president will go head-to-head in the second Democratic primary debate. This one is going to be in Detroit. Night one will feature the first matchup this election between Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And on night two, round two, frontrunner Joe Biden facing off again against Senator Kamala Harris. Well, this week, the California senator pulled ahead of the former vice president for the first time in a new California Quinnipiac poll. Harris edged out Biden by 2 percentage points, 23 to 21% among Democratic voters in the Golden State. So Biden spent this past Thursday courting black voters in the Crenshaw neighborhood of South Los Angeles, and then he raised money for his presidential bid from Hollywood executives. Don Calloway, let me start with you. Do you want to start with California?
Nipsey Hussle, man.
Yo,
Crenshaw,
right,
stand up. Let's do it.
Let me ask you about the importance of this state. We know that it's structured differently now, the way that delegates will be assigned. What do you make? How much should we ascribe to this poll? You know, if you look at margin of error, it shows the two of them essentially are in a dead heat. I don't want to ascribe too much to all of this, but it's her home state, and she's playing there against Biden.
It's a big deal, and she did get that bump post-debate, and it's fantastic if you're her. However, it is still California. The thing is, it's a race for delegates, and California has a whole lot of delegates that national total, so it absolutely matters. If you're Joe Biden, you're worried, but you can't be too concerned about losing Kamala's home state, in which she was the attorney general of the state, a Department of Justice that's almost as big as the federals. You know, she's supposed to do very, very well in California. So I think if you're Joe Biden, you're still far more concerned with Iowa, New Hampshire, and ultimately South Carolina, where he still has the lead despite the huge amount of potential black turnout there.
Emily, what are you looking for as we approach this next debate? 10 days away, format rather similar. There'll be opening statements this time. There weren't last time, but still a packed stage one night, a packed stage the next night. What are you watching for in terms of what's going to happen during the course of those two nights?
That first night of Bernie versus Warren, I think, is going to be really interesting. He really hasn't had to defend himself, really, in the fact that he's lost a large percentage of his voters and supporters, both to Warren and to Mayor Pete. And he really hasn't had to defend that at this point. He does like to say that he, brought out the mantle. So I'm actually looking to see that conversation. Also, the two other, besides for Warren, like the two other breakout stars of the first night last time will be in the second night this time, which is Castro and Booker. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they come with any kind of conversation that can break through this very juicy Biden-Harris kind of rematch that we're looking for.
But remember, what was the lesson of the last set of debates? Who did the best? Kamala Harris. How did she do that? By having a breakout moment attacking Biden. So if you're looking at what worked best last time, you say, planning something, implementing it, which is what she did. It was very strategic. It was very tactical. And you have all these candidates there who are like below 1%, all wanting their breakout moments. And then you have the top tier. So what I would wonder is if anyone looks at Kamala Harris, or if Kamala Harris looks at Kamala Harris and says, I got to do that. I got to do that again. Now, Elizabeth Warren will not be attacking Bernie Sanders, and I think Bernie Sanders will not be attacking Elizabeth Warren. If they turn off their own voters, they go to the person they're attacking. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. I expect that to be kind of a respectful exchange, but the question is who's out there circling who wants to zero in on Biden or maybe Kamala Harris herself.
Well, Harris will clearly, she has established herself as a front runner in a way that she was not before the first two debates.
And using the debate as a mechanism to do
absolutely
that.
And so she is physically center stage on night two, which is the marquee night in my view based on who you have up there. I'm certain that her camp is preparing herself to be the butt of some of those attacks in a way that Joe Biden was clearly the front runner in the first one, but she has an opportunity standing center stage on night two, right next to Joe Biden, to really rise above, to move past the busing issue and look presidential, look extremely dignified. I expect a big debate out of her.
She's going to be watched more closely, I think, than any of the other candidates.
Absolutely.
Because she's up there, not so much is known about her. She has the opportunity here to really take that interest and nail it down if she can perform well and have something to say.
What do we learn about how to prepare for a debate like this one? You look at the first night of the last debate and the second night, they took notes from what happened on the first night. Now looking ahead to this one, what are these candidates going to do differently? David mentioned the dynamics that emerged there over the course of those 2 days.
David is right. It's soundbite moments and it's attacking your opposition, which I think on the whole, a lot of Democratic voters would say they actually don't want to see them attacking one another. But it's the thing that breaks through. And if they have a line that is rehearsed and they know they can get it in, it's viral. It plays.
David, lastly to you, I mean, that moment had such resonance and longevity as the campaign moved on from Miami. Did that surprise you? What are the other issues as you look at them, as you look at differences between these candidates that could have that kind of longevity here as you move from that second debate to the third debate?
There are a lot of important issues to talk about and differences, whether it's on climate change, Medicare for all, and other matters that Emily's going to talk about in her podcast.
There you go. Well plugged.
Love a plug.
Well plugged, yeah.
But to me, what is the thing that the Democratic candidate needs the most? The ability to beat Donald Trump, who it poses a tremendous challenge because he doesn't play by the rules and he wants to bring you into the gutter. How do you attack someone like that? How do you take the attacks coming in? The last set of debates, Kamala Harris showed, now her target was Biden, not Trump, but she could think strategically about how to go up against an opponent, come up with a plan, implement the plan, and people say it wasn't necessarily a fair attack, but nevertheless, it worked politically. So who else can show that type of approach to dealing in a competitive environment?
All right, we will leave it there. Thanks to all of you for joining me here in New York. Don Calloway, Emily Tisch Sussman, and David Corr.